An official report from Harvard University is revealing the extent of Jeffrey Epstein's ties to that college. The review, completed at the request of Harvard's president, found the disgraced financier maintained his own personal office, with unlimited access on campus for a decade after his 2008 conviction. It also confirms Epstein, who died in his jail cell last year, donated millions to the school before serving time for soliciting sex with a minor. Deirdre Fernandes, who is a reporter for the Boston Globe, has been following this story. And so explain to our viewers, thanks for joining us, first of all, but explain to our viewers, Deirdre, how much money did Harvard accept from Epstein, and what else are we learning from this report?
Well, the report found that Harvard accepted about $9.2 million from Epstein. That wasn't so much as a surprise. Most of that money came from him before his 2008 conviction. What was surprising was the extent of contact Epstein had with Harvard and with Harvard faculty even beyond 2008. As you mentioned, he had his own office there at one of the departments, and he visited more than 40 times. And had dinners, had other faculty visiting him. So he was very involved even after the 2008 conviction.
Yeah, it's sort of like mind-blowing reading the article at how intimate the connection was. You know, it wasn't just that he was a wealthy donor and so he was able to sort of take liberties. But, you know, you talk about that office, it was sort of partially decorated personally by one of the professors there, you write. He would visit with young women who were his assistants. At one point, he was a fellow you know, being allowed to do research. And I'm not even going to read the title, but the title is like so telling on what his research area was. This was just, it was a very, very intimate connection, it seems like, beyond just the money he was providing.
Yeah, I think the money helped get him in, and then I think he developed relationships with some of the faculty there. And so even when Harvard itself was saying no to the money, and the president of Harvard and a dean rejected the money, he still continued to have a place there and find a home there of sorts. I mean, he had his own key card to the building and to the office. I mean, it was Jeffrey's office. That's how it was known. So, yeah. Relationship was deep.
The program's director, Harvard professor Martin Nowak, was placed on paid leave in the wake of the report. So what do we know about his connection to Mr. Epstein?
Well, Jeffrey Epstein actually helped basically found his study group, the Program for Evolutionary Dynamics, with a $6.5 million contribution back more than a decade ago. And so even after that money ran out, Epstein helped introduce Nowak to other people, including the Blacks and Black Foundation and other foundations that also helped continue funding for Nowak's program. So his relationship was long, and it was fairly intense, and it sounds like Harvard is looking into whether or not Nowak may have violated some of its own university policies by, first of all, giving the key cards out, lying, or not perhaps lying, or not being accurate in grant applications about the Epstein connection.
Now, Deirdre, this is not talked about in the article, but I'm curious. Whenever we talk about this, it's always, you know, Epstein and his money, and perhaps, you know, these professors really valued the money because they wanted it for their research. But also, you know, a lot of these people spent time at his homes, and I wonder if anyone has ever raised the idea or asked whether or not any of these Harvard professors had interacted with any of the women who are now saying they were victims of Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, the report was very vague about the connections beyond the money and the visits. Harvard had said that they have actually found that they interviewed professors and faculty and staff who did visit Epstein at his personal homes on the island, but that basically they were doing it as their own individuals and not as Harvard faculty, perhaps, or Harvard employees. So the report was very vague about that specific aspect. And it was only mentioned as a footnote in it. So I don't think that those answers have been fully vetted.
Has the university responded?
The university is saying that it's going to give the remaining money that's left over from Epstein's giving and donations, about 200,000, I believe it is, to victims' organizations. So that's the way it is taking care or trying to kind of wrap up the Epstein question.
And why did the university release the report now?
Well, this report has been ongoing for a long time. So MIT also had a similar report because of Epstein's connections there too. And so both of them kind of started around the same time, and MIT released its report in January. And Harvard, I think because it's coming to the close of the semester and close of the school year, has released its report now.
All right, Deirdre Fernandes, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.